The chart that both you and I see off to my right may be one of the easiest, most effective ways to help elevate melatonin levels. I mean, it is extremely easy and it validated in longer studies, meaning per se that utilizing a weighted blanket can keep these melatonin levels elevated for even long durations, let's say weeks, months, or years. uh, it's an incredible tool. And so much so, maybe even enough without adding publisher bias to offset that blue light effect at night. Henceforth, you can see an entire blanket line being called blue light specials. Per se, just to say what's out there. Now, what we're looking at is this. You see the chart. That represents a 30% increase in melatonin levels over individuals in an experimental crossover design study, as opposed to a light blanket. Now, this heavy blanket, which helped elevate these melatonin levels, was 12.2% of each individual's weight. So you have to keep in mind these blankets were customized to each person. So that should just give you an idea of part of the methods involved in the study itself. So with that in mind, let's get right into the study, and you'll find it's such an incredibly simple, eloquent method that, following Occam's razor, William Occam, that it deserves note, but it's almost so easy, it's easy to pass by. So let us begin. Weighted blanket increases melatonin. Previous research has shown that weighted blankets may ease insomnia in humans. However, the underlying mechanisms are not fully understood. Hence, researchers in Sweden experimented with 26 young men and women to examine if the bedtime use of a weighted blanket increases the production of sleep-promoting and anti-stress hormones like melatonin and oxytocin. In addition, they investigated whether the bedtime use of weighted blankets, 12% or 12.2 to be accurate, of participants' body weight reduced the activity of stress systems in the body. To this end, saliva was collected repeatedly for participants while they were covered with either a weighted or a light blanket to measure melatonin, oxytocin, cortisol, and the activity of the fight and flight sympathetic nervous system. Here's part of the methodology. All participants underwent 2 experimental sessions in a randomized and counterbalanced order in our laboratory. Sometimes they had a lightweight blanket, sometimes they had a heavyweight blanket, so they kind of switched off and on. The filling of the weighted blanket consists of honed glass pearls combined with polyester wadding, corresponding to 12.2% of the participant's body weight. The conclusion. Again, this is a real simple, straightforward study. Using a weighted blanket increased melatonin concentrations in saliva by about 30%. However, there were no differences in oxytocin, cortisol, and the activity of the sympathetic nervous system observed between the weighted and light blanket conditions. Quoting the author, our study may offer mechanism explaining why weighted blankets may exert some therapeutic benefits, such as improved sleep. However, our findings rely on a small sample and investigated only acute effects of the weighted blanket, i.e. the melatonin. Thus, larger trials are needed, including the investigation whether the observed effects of a weighted blanket on melatonin are sustained over longer periods. Again, the impact and how rapidly that melatonin levels were elevated utilizing the weighted blanket was quite, how I describe, astounding. So the trick is, will it maintain that level over longer periods of durations of time with this weighted blanket? So, for example, over a year, would that melatonin level still be 30% higher compared to a lightweight blanket, per se? And that is to be discovered. But however, the simplicity in the mechanistic approach of just using a weighted blanket filled with, whatever, I assume honed glass beads, is really quite incredible. And so you could see a lot of other therapeutic functions of individuals, for example, from jet lag, from computer use to any other sort of activity that could possibly result in deprecated, or how would you say, lower melatonin levels. I don't want to add publisher bias, but however, you can see how the potential is there if this particular study carries out into those extremely additional interesting fields as actually a form of therapy itself in regard to offsetting some of the mitigating damage of night shift work, computer screen blue light, whatever it comes down to be. But regardless, you gotta appreciate the researchers in reference to bringing this to our attention. Real cool. 12.2% of individuals' body weight. I know a lot of people are going to start going online trying to shop for heavy blankets, but still, just the same. I'm sure a market may open up where blankets are weighted somehow, compared or customized to your body weight. You're really cool, so don't be surprised. But here it is, and here's the data to begin to support that hypothesis on a larger scale or theory. Again, Ralph Giordano signing off. Humbled you watch. Gratitude to the researchers, and I'll get my pen later on. Catch you all next time. See you then. Bye.